It started as just another quiet December gathering in Hollywood. No cameras, no red carpets, no speeches, just familiar faces, laughter, and the kind of night people assume is safe because everyone knows everyone. But looking back now, many believe that evening was the moment everything began to unravel. How does a calm Christmas party quietly turn into the starting point of one of Hollywood's most disturbing tragedies? And why did so many warning signs go unnoticed until it was already too late? The night took place at Conan O'Brien's annual holiday party, a low key tradition known for being relaxed and off guard. Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle arrived like they always did, but this year they weren't alone. They brought their son, Nick. Friends later said that decision carried more weight than anyone realized at the time. According to multiple accounts, Rob and Michelle had been deeply worried about him in the weeks leading up to the party. Mood swings, erratic behavior, long stretches of silence followed by sudden bursts of intensity. Bringing him along felt safer than leaving him alone. At first, nothing seemed obviously wrong. Guests mingled, conversations flowed, drinks were poured, but several attendees later admitted they felt something was off almost immediately. Nick didn't blend in. He lingered on the edges of rooms, hoodie pulled tight, eyes scanning faces like he was searching for something he couldn't quite find. He approached people abruptly, asking flat, uncomfortable questions. "What's your full name? Are you famous?" The tone wasn't playful. It was intense, repetitive, unsettling. Some guests answered politely and drifted away. Others exchanged uneasy looks. Actress Jane Fonda later said she felt a sudden chill when he stood too close, staring without blinking. Another moment reportedly involved Bill Hader, when Nick interrupted a private conversation and refused to move on. When asked gently for space, Nick didn't argue. He didn't explain. He just stood there in silence, then abruptly turned and walked away. The mood shifted, laughter dulled, conversations softened. Michelle smiled through it, trying to smooth things over, but her eyes kept searching the room. Rob stayed close, watching carefully, protective without drawing attention. Witnesses described Nick moving from room to room like he wasn't fully present, mumbling under his breath, gripping a drink he barely touched. By later in the evening, the tension was impossible to ignore. Reports suggest Nick accused his parents of talking about him behind his back. Rob tried to calm him, urging him to leave early and cool off. Voices sharpened just enough to turn heads. A small table was knocked over. Security stepped in quietly, and Conan O'Brien himself reportedly tried to ease the situation, suggesting they get some air. Michelle clutched Rob's arm, pale with worry. They left quietly. To most guests, it was just an awkward moment, something uncomfortable but temporary. But that drive home would later be viewed as the beginning of the end. What happened inside the car and later inside the Brentwood home has been pieced together through forensic timelines, witness accounts, and investigative analysis. Authorities believe the argument didn't fade once the doors closed. Neighbors later reported hearing muffled voices around midnight, nothing that triggered alarm at the time. Just what sounded like a family conflict late at night. Investigators now believe the situation escalated quickly during those early morning hours. There were no signs of forced entry because none were needed. Whoever was responsible knew the house intimately, every hallway, every routine. Experts believe the object used was something ordinary, taken from inside the home rather than brought from outside. That detail alone added a chilling layer to the case. It suggested familiarity, access, and intent rather than randomness. What makes this case especially unsettling is what followed afterward. Surveillance footage later surfaced, showing Nick walking calmly through Los Angeles streets. Hours after the estimated time of the incident, he carried a bag over his shoulder. His pace was steady, his expression neutral. He checked into a hotel without drawing attention, paid quietly, and went to his room. Staff later said nothing seemed unusual, no visible distress, no frantic behavior, just silence. Later footage captured him at a gas station, buying a drink, pacing slightly, scanning the area, but still composed enough to complete the transaction. Experts noted how disturbing that calm appeared given the circumstances. Many assume extreme acts are followed by panic or collapse, but investigators say when officers finally detained him, there was no resistance, no struggle. He complied quietly. Witnesses described his demeanor as hollowed out, exhausted, emotionally drained rather than frantic. That contrast only deepened the mystery. As news broke, shock rippled through Hollywood. What first stunned the public quickly turned into something heavier as details emerged piece by piece. Then attention shifted toward something else entirely: the legal defense. Within days, Nick secured representation from Alan Jackson, one of the most high-profile defense attorneys in the country. The speed of that move raised immediate questions. Jackson is known for taking only the most complex cases, and his involvement alone suggested a long, aggressive legal battle ahead. Reports soon surfaced suggesting the legal fees could be tied to family inheritance funds. While unconfirmed, multiple insiders claimed the Reiner estate, reportedly valued at around $200 million, may be covering the defense. Legal analysts explained that under California law, funds can be used for legal defense prior to a conviction, though it remains highly controversial. If convicted, the defendant cannot benefit from the estate. Still, the optics stunned the public: a defense funded by wealth built by the very people at the center of the tragedy. Some argued it was compassionate, others called it deeply troubling. Silence from attorneys and family members only fueled speculation. Then came Nick's first court appearance. No cameras were allowed inside. He entered wearing a standard inmate uniform, standing beside his attorney, calm and expressionless. When asked if he would waive his right to a speedy trial, his answer was short and flat: "Yes, Your Honor." No explanation, no emotion, just silence. As the case moved forward, investigators revisited a long and painful history that many now believe is central to understanding what happened. Born in 1993, Nick reportedly began experimenting with substances at a young age. What followed was a cycle of treatment and relapse that stretched across years. Rob and Michelle tried everything they could: rehab programs, structure, creative projects, support without abandonment. Rob believed purpose could save his son. They even worked together on the film Being Charlie, a project that mirrored Nick's own struggles. For a time, it seemed like things were improving, but addiction, as experts often warn, doesn't move in straight lines. Relapses followed. Episodes grew more intense. By the late 2000s, friends say the family was exhausted, but still unwilling to walk away. That devotion now sits at the center of public debate. How far should love go? When does support become risk? Psychologists consulted by media outlets described the situation as a perfect storm: long-term instability, emotional volatility, unresolved trauma, and mounting pressure colliding all at once. The legal battle ahead is expected to test where the line between mental health and accountability truly lies. Prosecutors reportedly plan to focus on evidence suggesting awareness and intent. Defense strategies may emphasize long-term impairment, but experts note that voluntary substance use rarely removes responsibility under the law. If convicted of the most serious charges, sentencing could mean life behind bars. As the trial approaches, the potential witness list alone has drawn attention. High-profile names, private conversations, a holiday party that now feels frozen in time. What was meant to be a joyful night became the beginning of one of Hollywood's darkest chapters. In the end, this case lingers not just because of what happened, but because of what it forces people to confront: the limits of love, the danger of ignored warning signs, the uncomfortable truth that success, fame, and money don't shield anyone from inner chaos. And the hardest question remains unanswered: when those final moments unfolded, did Rob and Michelle sense their love was no longer enough? We may never fully understand that night, but the silence it left behind continues to echo far beyond that house in Brentwood.